Hey guys, welcome back to Unfiltered. Where are we? Where are we? We've got camera angle issues. We've got memory issues. You would
Brain
think
fog.
brain fog. It's been So
Yeah.
welcome back to
Unfiltered.
and Unashamed. We're here. It's been a hot minute for us since we've recorded.
Yeah. It's been a couple weeks,
I think so.
Almost.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
spring break in there and just honestly, some shitty moods.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And
So
we didn't want to bring that to you.
but you might get a taste of it.
You might get a taste. I think I had said something to somebody the other day. I was asking for like how they felt about a situation, and they gave me their response, and their response pissed me off. But I because it wasn't the same as mine, and I was like, I'm gonna start this with I'm crabby. Like I feel like I've just been like crabby, and because sometimes it just feels like shit just doesn't go your way.
Right.
And
And I think, you know what? I think it's growth that you and I are comfortable saying, hey, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? I am super crabby and my perception is probably skewed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's important to be able to share.
Warn.
Warn is number
Share
one.
with each other, maybe warn other people.
And also be aware for yourself.
Yes.
Because I feel like sometimes it just like when I am super crabby, I get upset with myself for being that way. But when you just give yourself I'm cranky. Like it's just this is the way it is. I'm not looking for anyone to fix it. I'm not looking for anything like that. I just am crabby.
I have an awareness that maybe I shouldn't make a big decision in the moment or what have you. So yeah, I'm going to say that, we're using our emotional intelligence.
Yes. We'll go with that.
That's how we're gonna.
You always have a good swing to those sorts of things. Yeah. Well, and I think it kind of just fits in with just where we're and maybe why we ended up wanting to do this topic today is that it does start to feel, I think, as you get older, when you're younger, you have all these goals and hopes and dreams and
fantasies, truly.
Yes.
I think we generally call them ideas or hopes and dreams, but there's like another layer to it where it's a fantasy of what our lives are going to look like.
There's no negative in it.
What's our life going to look like?
Yeah. I think we still do that as adults, but I just feel like sometimes there's more, we have less control. Or we're aware that we were never in control.
Yeah, I mean, the world's going to throw you some curveballs. That's a good,
yeah.
The world that are completely outside of your control. And then you try and do the best you can in that moment. But then when sometimes you reflect on that, you wonder, did I do the best thing? How did I end up here?
Yeah.
Should something have been different?
I think a lot of people have that thought. I feel like it can go across from jobs, full-blown career, like your absolute full profession, your friendships. Because some people, it's like they find themselves at this age thinking, these people don't get me, or I can't be myself around them. I had a conversation with another friend the other day, and I think I had this kind of with you too, but it was just like, I am so grateful that I get to be me with my friends.
Yeah.
There's no hiding. Like certain situations, sure, you might buffer some, but if I want to be vulnerable, I get to be vulnerable. If I want to share information that I would think I would never be able to share with anybody, I get to do that. And it's so nice. But I feel like some people don't have that. So it's like, how did I get there with friends, with relationships, with children? I hear that a lot. I feel like I hear so many parents go, where did I go wrong? Or what should I have done differently? And I don't, and a lot of the times we come back to his personality in that situation too. But it does sometimes feel like with these fantasies, we're setting ourselves up for, back to another conversation, is adult disappointments.
Right.
And it sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah.
It does suck. Yeah. And while I do think it's okay to kind of have a fantasy here and there, you know, if we let ourselves get hooked by the idea of if I had done A, then maybe I would be in a different position now
Right.
or whatever. Um, it's okay to sit there for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not super productive.
No. Well,
It's
no.
not really going to help you get where
No.
you're going.
No.
Like, is there a time for reflection of like, oh, I could have handled that conversation better?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
But going all the way back to a decision that I made when I was leaving high school to now is, and assuming that had I chose something different, my life would be amazing, is futile.
Oh, it just keeps you in a negative space.
Right.
So I think that is, and that's hard to dig out of.
It is.
And I think I've been seeing a lot lately of people, talking about stop reflecting on what other people are showing you as to measuring yourself up to that. And you can go in with that mindset of like, I'm not going to look at that person and go, man, I wish I had that. Or where did I go wrong? How did they do that? And I think it's hard to not compare, but it is it's like we have to figure out how. I struggle with it. I think of daily. I mean, and it could be for all sorts of things. It could be like, how come I don't have fashion sense like that? I think it can be something as simple as that, not always
I
the
mean,
big thing. Why do I immediately go to like, how come I'm not good at that? Why can't I do that? And then there's really no answer.
right.
It's just the way it is. So to
Right.
sit in that space and feel shitty about it is
Yeah. It's
it's a
just
mute
not,
point.
yeah,
But
it's unhelpful.
but for some reason we get stuck there.
We do.
No, I don't know.
So, what I kind of am trying to remind myself at the moment, and I think we've had conversations about, is we can do hard things.
Yes, we do hard things.
We do hard
Yep.
things all the time. And so I think that is one kind of antidote
Mm-hmm.
to comparison sometimes, in that, it helps us to recognize everybody has their own different challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and like they may be a snazzy dresser,
Right.
and also I don't know, maybe they can't pay their bills every month.
Right.
Like, but I
Right.
don't know that.
Right.
Like, we all
Right.
have our separate
Right.
challenges. Uh
Well, and I think I'm trying to put that into a daily reminder of myself. And I was telling you this earlier. I'm making a playlist and it's titled We Can Do Hard Things. And it's not necessarily even a female driven
mhm,
playlist. It's just songs that make me feel strong, make me feel energized, make me feel positive,
mhm.
make me move on. Meaning like, when you're just kind of in a funk and it's a cleaning day. You're like, oh, I'm so over it. And then a great song comes on. It just pushes you past. And so things like that, because it is so easy to get in your own head that you aren't doing it.
Right.
And it's like, no, we are.
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
And we are doing all the hard things.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a little bit more for us to do them. I had just this really stupid situation. It was a phone call I didn't want to make. And I had been looming over it for probably months. Like it was just something I just didn't want to deal with. They didn't ultimately know like
How it was
how it was
gonna
going
go.
to go. And it's like once I finally built up that, like, fuck it, I just got to get this done. Obviously, I felt much better after.
Mhm.
But it also was that, like, okay, that really wasn't that hard, but my brain
Had built it up.
had built it up. But it is also, for me, it was hard.
Mhm.
And so to not negate the importance of that I still overcame that. I still did it. I could have absolutely not. I could have continued in the space of like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Um, but I didn't. And I think that's important to allow yourself to recognize your successes in the hard things, as little as those things might be.
Agreed. Yeah, because I think that when you're in a particular situation or time frame where you're like, where everything feels hard,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it's never gonna end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's always gonna feel this hard. Um, for me, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, haven't I done all the hard things already? Like, can I be done with the hard things?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it is easy to forget, like, no, I did overcome those things.
Right.
And so trying to kind of add like the positive to,
Well,
I don't want to do this
and I
because
mean,
I've done enough hard stuff.
right, right. Well, yeah, I mean, it just feels like really one more thing. Like I saw this thing, someone was saying, like, I never understood what adults meant, but now I get it. legitimately is always something. If it's
Mhm.
something as simple as your um, blow dryer dying,
Mhm.
or I had a friend telling me
The
about how,
car doesn't start in the
yep,
morning.
yep, or as
And we
frustrating,
recognize that these are pretty privileged problems
very much so, very
in the
much so,
examples that
yes.
we're giving.
But even like I had a friend talking about how she was rear-ended and
Totally out of her control.
totally out of her control. And we were talking about that earlier, is that there's so many things in our lives that we will get stuck on, feeling like we didn't overcome that hard thing, or we didn't get the result that we wanted, or we feel like we haven't moved past it, and we put it all on
All
ourselves.
about responsibility of
And the reality is that, so this friend who had this, she got rear-ended again, out of her control 100%, but it is putting a negative impact on her life,
Mhm.
between, rental car paying, like just dealing with all of it.
Mhm.
But yet it's like, I think that's why we do put it on ourselves, because a lot of the times, even when it isn't our fault, it's still our responsibility to fix it. Not everything, obviously,
Sure,
but
sure. Yeah, some of those things, it does become your responsibility to problem solve and fix.
I mean, even your car not starting in the morning, or,
Sure.
but I think
Uh, yeah, I
maybe
can. S-
we obviously put way too much responsibility on ourselves for fixing all of it. Because again, your
Yes,
car not starting is not your fault.
uh,
You didn't cause it to, most of the time.
most
Most of
of
the
the
time.
I mean, my car didn't start this morning, but it was because
Really?
well, I left the key in the house.
Oh,
I have a push start, but I left the
sure.
key fob.
Yeah. And so you're like, why
So
isn't it
I'm like, the
starting?
lights are on.
Right? You're like, the battery's fine.
Like, why isn't it? What is happening here? I mean, just one of those kind of brain fog
Right,
things.
right,
But yeah, certainly, like, aside from not having the key on
right,
me, I
right,
hadn't like done anything to sabotage
right,
the car.
right.
Like,
But
I
there
hadn't
are
like,
days that you feel like you walk through your day and you're like,
yes,
are you fucking kidding me? Like, it can be as simple as like popping something. Like, say you're making a breakfast smoothie and like, it just slips out of your hand. I mean, I know I've had that happen, or things
mm,
like that. Like, that's just like, then it's not even just like, man, bummer. It's like, now it's this big problem. And I feel like sometimes we put ourselves in that mindset, and then it just is a waterfall effect. Then, you
oh,
go to
it's yeah,
you go to
like
get
a
in your car and you drop your
self
water bottle, and
self
it's,
fulfilling
yes, and
prophecy.
it spills all over, or what have you.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, we get through them
yeah,
and we manage, and we can bitch about it all we want.
absolutely. But it's gonna happen
Yep,
because that's just being a human.
it is. And I think with social media, it makes it really hard to feel like you aren't doing. I think it puts a perspective of, wait a minute, how, okay, I'm having this really shitty day. And then, I go to look at whatever, and you're like, oh, well, this person, they just went to Maui, and,
Yeah. Well, and
or
it's so
whatever.
cultivated. It's easy to forget, uh, that we all have challenges
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a little bit, but most of the time, people aren't sharing truly like their hard stuff online.
No, no. Could you imagine if they did? I mean, some of it I would love to know. I
Yeah.
mean, I think for validation,
Yes.
for just able to then to support somebody a little bit more, because
Sure.
I think people also feel lonely
Yes.
because they aren't sharing their real lives.
Right. And so there's alienation and isolation, right?
Mhm.
Because there's not the authenticity, which
Mhm.
you talked about is so important to you, and I
Mhm.
think has always been important in our friendship,
Mhm.
but has extended over time to our other adult
Yeah.
relationships. Like, that's not happening on
No,
social
it's not.
media. So I compounds people feeling lonely.
Well, and it makes it hard. Say you run into somebody who again, on social media, if they are, and even if they're just putting out positive things or putting out whatever they want to. And I've had so many people that I've talked to that it's like, oh, well, but really behind the scenes,
Right.
I'm going through this. And people then, but if they aren't willing to have that open conversation with you, I think once then you actually get together with these people, even if they are your friends, and they're putting things out on social media that you're necessarily not talking about, and it's all positive. When you actually get together with them, I think it can create two problems. I think it can create a problem that they feel like they then cannot be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to keep up the facade, or they just internalize and actually pull away because you think that their life is something so great. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't,
Want you to think differently
well, I
or
think they're just
feel like,
afraid to
yeah.
say anything because you've said one thing. It's kind of like a little kid who's like, oh no, I have a house in the elevator. And then everyone wants to come over to their house and they're like, oh, but I don't have a house in the elevator. I don't want you to know that. So I think it makes it hard. And so then you're lonely, and but I mean, it's just one of those things that I think we have to do better at, not necessarily displaying all of our laundry on social
No,
media,
and
but
it doesn't need to be attention seeking
mm-mm,
either. Like I don't know that we need to like all get online and be like, oh, here's all the hard things I did today.
mm-hmm,
But I do think it's fair to try and remember that there's a difference between what we see and
mm,
what the reality is.
yes, and not just on social media.
Yeah.
But again, it's like you said, the well-dressed person or um the person who's driving the brand new vehicle,
Hmm.
or even just the person, your doctor. Right? You don't necessarily even see their vehicle, or they're in a lab coat. They're not, unless they've got their Rolex and their whatever. But like, just if you take like kind of like a blank, or like a blank slate of a person, you have no real true understanding of where they are. And I think it's just something that can't be honed in on enough.
Hmm.
Um, and we need to just be reminded of that constantly. And the only way that I've learned to do that is to not think, well, that person has this. Okay, well, but maybe they're not happy in this. Instead of doing that, because I feel like I'm still then trying to validate where I
Hmm.
feel that I'm missing out from them, is I think, okay, well, this morning you had a fight with your child and you had to carry on throughout your day. And so many people perceive you a certain way. And so just remember that whatever you're putting out there, people are taking in a different way than you might think. In a positive is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
was it you I was talking to about that? Someone might tell you, like, you can have so many people who are like, well, but you deserve that, or you're so good at that. And you're thinking, well, I mean, that's because that's what you're putting out there for them to see. But they don't know necessarily what the nitty gritty is behind it.
Right. Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that's just how we survive as humans. But every day is hard
Hmm.
for one reason or another.
There's something hard.
There's something hard. And it can be hard
Some things
emotionally.
are less hard
Yeah.
than others, but yeah, there's a lot of hard to work through on
There's
the
a lot of hard
daily.
to work through. Which makes me feel like I wish I had been able to show more appreciation to um adults in my life growing up, or even certain friends. Like, you look back and you're like, oh wow, I thought that person kind of, had it or whatever.
Hmm.
And then you're
Hmm.
like, maybe they didn't, and maybe they were really lonely.
Hmm.
But I don't want it to turn into, oh, I need to take care of other people.
No, it doesn't have to be taking care of other people. I think it's just reminding each other, like, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You've done hard things. You're being brave. You're doing the hard things.
Yes.
Uh, and I think that anytime someone is trying to like start something new or transition into something different,
Mm-hmm.
we we have the idea or the dream of what the
Mm-hmm.
end result of something is going to be that is
Mm-hmm.
somewhat of a fantasy, and I think we can help ourselves by shifting our expectations
Mm-hmm.
and saying that this initially is going to suck and
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard.
Hard. Yep. Well, yeah, putting that up front and just
Just
allowing ourselves to know
absolutely. And
that
then giving
it's
ourselves some grace. Like, I'm
mm-hmm.
doing a really hard thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if I feel like I'm not showing up 100%.
Yeah. But
And
we need,
once this transitions, I'm moving through this transition, I'll get back to my 100%.
yeah, I need to figure out how to do that.
I,
I mean, I
I
don't know if
mean,
anyone
it's,
knows, right? If I'm like,
yeah, I don't think
knowing
there's
that,
like a magic
yeah,
wand
that it's okay to give yourself forgiveness is tough.
It is. It's really hard to give ourselves grace.
I mean, and I think when
I
you
think
think,
as women, we can be really good at giving other people grace,
mm-hmm.
but not so good.
Are we giving them grace? And this is across the board. This is at work.
Yeah.
Are we giving them grace or are we turning our heads?
Mm.
Because I think if we were giving them grace, there would be well, they're struggling here or whatever, right? Like giving them grace, some of it I think we just overlook.
It could be a combination of both
Hmm.
and or depend on the situation.
I think it's very situational for sure. But I think there are times that, it's that easier to just
Keep going.
just to keep going, which is what we're trying, what we do. I mean, it's human, and that's not just female based. It's just like you keep going, no matter how nobody wants to sit in that space. But it's like, it's the same thing as like a loss. How do you keep going? How do you keep? But you do.
You do.
You
You
do.
don't.
You just, it's just what happens. It's just
Right.
you keep going, no matter how disappointing that is, or how much you'd rather not, or what have you. Even when there's a major letdown. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
being told no, you can't do that as an adult sucks. Sucks. Like I don't want someone to tell me that I can't. Like,
Yeah.
say that you and I were like, we really want to team up and buy a condo on the beach,
Sure.
and it's like, oh, this would be great. And then we can rent it out, Airbnb, this, that, or the other. But we don't really get to make that decision.
No, it's not entirely in our control.
Right. And that's the really frustrating part as
Mm-hmm.
an adult. And that is another hard thing to do. To get, not to get over that, but to understand it
Mm-hmm.
and to see what you can do to change it. So you get a different response next time. But also it's, we have to realize that no matter how much our daily decisions and factors play in, it really, at the end of the day, does not have to do with us on a lot of things.
On a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does on like,
And that's not abdicating responsibility for our actions. I don't think either one of us are saying that. I
no,
think
no, no,
it's
no.
just it's just remembering to consider that there are so many factors outside of our control that um we have to find our way.
Yep.
In spite
And
of.
navigate it. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, again, if I'm frustrated because I'm looking older. Well, I mean, if I'm not going to do the things that's in my control. I mean, it is
Sure.
and it isn't,
It
right?
is
But
and
like,
isn't.
but yeah, it's a challenge every day, and I hear it from people. I'm sure you hear it too.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's an everyday challenge of feeling like defeated. That's a big word that I've been hearing a lot lately too. Is just feeling defeated and uncertain
Mm-hmm.
and unsure. Then with that defeat, it definitely can put you in a mindset of like, well, it can go a couple ways. Like, I'm just gonna throw my hands up. Like, I'm out. I can't do it. I'm out. Or you're gonna be like, no, I'm gonna get this and get it done. And I think it's okay to also jump between those. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I
yeah.
was just thinking, like, you almost can't be extreme with either one of them, right?
Mm-mm.
You can't necessarily like drop out of the scenario at a first no.
Right,
You
right,
also can't be so invested that you sink the fucking ship.
right, right. Yeah,
Like,
because
and
it
it
could go either way.
trying,
Yeah.
right. And so trying to figure out, like, I'm going to push forward,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
but there's a point where it's going to become a loss to myself if I keep putting energy towards
right,
this.
right.
And that is a hard
It
thing
is. How
to
do you?
figure out and to do.
That's a fine line. Yeah, it can be. I mean, well, because you don't know either one.
Right.
There's no answer on either side.
Right.
And so you have to navigate it and figure it out. And that brings fear.
Absolutely.
Uncertainty brings fear, and change can bring fear. And I think
Even positive change
yes. Yeah.
is a
It's scary.
transition and it's hard and
Hmm.
it's scary.
Do you I had a thought in my head and it completely disappeared. This is getting annoying.
The brain
The
fog.
brain,
I have
it's
major
getting
brain fog this week.
so annoying.
I will say that we're recording on a Friday. I've wrapped up most of my
Mm-hmm.
sessions for the week. And I will say the theme this week is really people feeling defeated.
Mm,
That's not always the case, but
yeah.
it does. So I don't know.
If it's there's like some sort of
I don't know.
universal
Astrology or
something going on.
cycle we're in with the moon. Or just random whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But that's been,
I mean, I guess
that
I've
seems to
heard
be
it
the theme
as
this
well.
week.
If it's not defeat, it's I can't do enough, which can fall in kind of like that
Well,
defeat.
that feels defeating
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't do enough for
Yeah.
this situation, or I can't be in all of these places, and I can't, I can't do all the things, and that's defeating because
Hmm.
you're like, but people are asking me to do all the things,
Right.
and I can't, and we're not good at saying that. Like I think as
We're
humans,
not.
most of the time,
We're not.
especially females, we're just not good at saying I can't do that for you. Like I will go around and around in my head 1,000 times to figure out how to do something for somebody,
Before just saying,
before just saying like I just
I
can't.
really can't.
Yeah, and but that becomes guilt, right? And that's frustrating too, because then you're like, oh, I feel like crap. I feel like I should be able to help them, or I want to be able to help them, and with whatever it might be. But it is, yeah, it's tough.
Hmm.
Defeat is not a good feeling to be in.
No.
But I think one thing, and this is as cliche as it is that there's always the other side. It's like you can be defeated, but there is, for lack of a better word, like term, it's like there is always tomorrow. And tomorrow you might still be in that same defeated position, but you might have a different outlook, or somebody might have a different outlook for you, or you might have a shift in whatever happened. Something might
Hmm.
change. You might get,
Hmm.
an additional help, or assistance from somebody or something, or
Yeah,
every day is different.
it is.
And
It is. And I share this with my clients too. Growing up, I don't remember how many times my parents would say, just go to bed. You'll
oh,
feel better
better
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning. Hmm.
Every time I wanted to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, like almost like let me sit in this space too.
A
But do
little
you,
bit,
yeah,
but also like it was kind of some of that teenage
yeah,
stuff.
well,
Like, fuck
sure. Yeah.
you.
Like you don't even know,
Sleep is not gonna fix
right?
my whatever
Boyfriend issue or my
boyfriend
friends
issue
or
or
whatever.
how I do on my test.
Hmm.
Turns out I was 1000% wrong. And I will admit that
Yeah.
freely
Yeah. Yeah.
because there is something to be said about just go to sleep for the night
Hmm.
because you will perceive things differently the next day.
You will.
Now, I can't guarantee you're going to perceive it in a more positive way,
No, but it will
but
still
you
be
will,
different.
and you'll be rested. So you have better problem solving
More
skills.
clarity. Yeah. I mean, it is hard because it's like going to sleep. Sometimes when I'm in that space, going to sleep feels like I'm giving up on the
Mm,
problem, and like I'm giving up on it. I haven't found a solution. So therefore it's like dooms. It's like just that
sure.
ultimate like low, low. But then other times it is that thought process of like, you know what? It's like I tell my kids with homework, walk away.
Right. I was going to
Walk
say,
away.
as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, no, your sleep is just you taking a
You take a
break.
break. And it's
So
that
your
walk
brain can
away.
think
Yes.
better tomorrow.
It's walk away, give yourself some time away from that situation, and then come back, and it's different. I think it's kind of the same as like the term, new four walls or different four walls is, I've got to just get out of my daily. I got to get out of my daily, out of my routine, out of whatever. And that doesn't matter if I mean I'm going to go spend the night at a hotel, or if we go take a trip for 2 days, if I go stay at someone else's house,
Hmm.
even for a couple days, it's just not your own four walls. And so it's
Yeah.
just taking a break from the things that have you feeling, and honestly, even in a bad way, but just feeling all the feels
Hmm.
that you just can't get over. You just can't get away from them because
Hmm.
they are there. Because yes, in the morning you wake up, but it's like it still hits you.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that sometimes after, like I notice I'll definitely be able to turn my brain off when I'm working out. And then it's like, And then you get in your car and you're like, "Wah." You're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it's back. Cool. Love that
Yeah.
for me. It didn't go away. I didn't get to leave it in there, but it is good to have
But
that
you at least
time.
had the reprieve a
Yeah.
little bit.
To just have a break of it and not feel so just in that rut because it starts to feel shitty in that place. It just
Mhm.
starts to, again, it feels lonely. I feel like we shut people out. I think we're getting better about that. At least you and I, at least is that just knowing that our communication, not just even between you and I, but also between you and I, is that it's just important to not just completely shut down. And I think that was a big go-to for me is
Mhm.
I would just shut down, pretend like it wasn't, or it didn't happen. And then leave it. That's maybe why, every other problem then feels that much harder.
Hmm.
And I'm not looking to fix these problems. It's not even problems that necessarily need to be fixed, but I didn't let myself feel the feels.
Anything about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
No.
I think kind of wrapping it up with just biggest thing is, and I know people say it all the time, but you are not alone.
Right.
You are not alone in feeling lonely, defeated, panicked about next choices, steps, decisions, fear. You're not,
Mhm.
feeling fear is normal. And I think we just all pretend like we're not scared of shit. And that's not true.
It's not true, and I think denying that you have fear I'm gonna posit that it generally just creates more issues.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Like things just become more intense and escalate
Mm-hmm.
easier
Mm-hmm.
if you are pretending like you're not
Yes.
afraid
Yes.
versus if you just say, "Yeah, this is scary, and I'm gonna do it anyway."
Right. Yeah. I have to. Like kind of that, like I'm gonna have
Mhm.
to. The judgment behind fear is so interesting to me. Starts as a kid.
Oh my
You're a scaredy cat. And it's like, well, maybe I should be because this is scary,
Yeah.
right? There was
Yeah.
this stupid thing.
That was a good peer pressure tactic, right?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that you
you're
look
scared.
right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to drugs, when it
I mean,
came to
so
sex, when it came
yeah.
to going in someone's car that you knew you really shouldn't, when it's going to someone's party or house that you knew you shouldn't have, how dare you be scared? And it wasn't always scared of the consequences. It was scared of the actual situation.
Mhm.
But you couldn't
Because
you couldn't show that you were scared.
right, right, and
You
a
didn't want
lot
people
of
to
and a lot of
know.
that was legitimate healthy fear,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
right? I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
it was like your body and your brain being like, "This is a very unsafe situation for you."
Yeah, I found myself in a few of those.
Sure.
And can't imagine my children. I'm not saying that they won't or haven't. That would terrify me for them if they had been in those situations. And the fact that I knew I was scared to do it and I did it anyways, how stupid. And it was because I didn't want to be the person that said,
Right,
no, no,
right,
I don't want to do that.
right.
Because, well, honestly, then you're left out.
Mhm.
And then you're like, I don't have any friends. And then it
Yeah.
reverts to the lonely and feeling, less
Mhm.
than or defeated. It's a whole
It's
cycle.
a whole cycle,
And so
and a
fear,
lot of people will carry that through all of
yep,
adulthood. I think you and I maybe have grown away from that. Like,
yeah,
I have no problem going to the bar and being like, "I'm not drinking tonight."
yeah. Like, I mean, it's just not
But I
something,
know a lot of people in our
oh, they're
age
afraid that it's going to look
struggle
good.
to say, I'm not gonna have a cocktail tonight.
Right. Or,
What if
or
people
the,
think I'm pregnant? What if people think I
oh,
have a
yeah, I guess I'll
problem?
think about
What
that.
if
Yeah. Or I think even
whereas you
just,
and I are just like,
right, whatever. I mean, but not even like I guess I've dealt with that more with like food
yeah.
and it's the fear of judgment. It's like, no, I don't want any cake. Well, why not? You should have some. You've earned it. You know what I mean? Like you hear all of these things and it's like, okay, but see, like, I don't want the cake.
Mhm.
And I've told you how I feel about it. And then you're just pushing me.
Mhm.
And was I fearful of eating the cake? No, but now I'm fearful of being judged.
Right.
And so then the next time I might not even go at all
Right.
because that did not make me feel good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as I've grown, we are much more both that way. Or my big thing is like, um, I'm always down for a cocktail, so I probably won't like go to the bar and not. I mean, I have, but like, is like the shots. Or do you want one more?
Mm.
Or should we have another drink? Or and it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, like,
No.
like, I don't know. But, youth me, even 20-year-old me or whatever,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I probably would have been like, I would have been afraid to say no. I would have been afraid of what repercussion that would have created in that relationship or with those people or what have you, or what they would say after I left, or, all those things. And it's just like, yeah, well, we gotta have to move past that. But so I think fear needs to also just be accepted a little bit more and not shit on.
Yeah.
We have fear
Well,
for a reason.
we have fear for a reason. It's trying to figure out if our fear is legitimate, right? Like your body being like, "Don't walk down that dark alley by
Right.
yourself, sister."
Mm-hmm.
Versus, you know, the fear of the hard thing
Oh, right.
or the fear of the outcome. Like,
Yeah.
there's different, there's
Yes.
healthy fear,
Do you know what's
and then there's the fear that gets in the way.
what's crazy? I feel like the fear that gets in the way scares me more.
Oh, 100%.
How dumb is that?
I actually agree with that. 100%.
How dumb is that? Like, I'm thinking of like personal experience. I'm like, well, because I'm like in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't walk down that way, but like that's the fastest way, and like, like I'm gonna do it anyways. Yeah.
I think every woman has gotten on an elevator with someone
Oh,
she
yeah.
was uncomfortable
Yep.
with because it was too uncomfortable. Because the fear of what that person might think if she says, "I'll get the next one,"
Yeah.
outweighs the fear of getting.
I mean, that
of
could go down.
ignoring your intuition,
Yes,
getting in the
that could go down a
elevator anyway.
whole rabbit hole, because my first thought is like, okay, so if I stand back and say, no, no, thanks, I'll get the next one. My thought is he getting off on the next floor and then getting on the stairs? Is that going to piss him off? Is that like, because that's the process too.
Right.
It's not just as simple as being like, I'm going to trust my gut. Because, well, if I'm going to trust my gut, what's his reaction to that?
Right. How
I'm saying
he, navigate
because
this?
obviously it's generally going to be a man who's going to be, our uh, perpetrator or fear. Yeah. Or what we're fear
physical
of.
threat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's the whole.
We don't have bears.
No, I was just gonna say the bear versus man thing. How freaking crazy is that?
Yeah. Where are you with that?
I think initially I was like, I would probably pick a bear. I mean, if it was an actual man who had no good intentions, I feel like a bear, it would just be done. It would just be done. Now, if I mean, like, because that's what you're talking about, right? Being mauled by a bear, being killed by a bear. Now, okay, I guess, well, see, that's the crazy part, is I immediately thought to death.
Right.
I immediately thought torture and death. It wasn't even a thought process of like, well, would you trust the bear or the man more? I immediately went to both of them are killing me.
Well,
that was my first
I think
thought
that's
process.
part of the premise.
It is, but I also listened to a lot of true crime.
I think the question is, would you feel like you would be safer if you ran into a bear or you ran into a man? And with the idea being that you could escape, but which one would potentially be an easier escape? I personally am all about the bear. I think we could work it out. And if we didn't,
I think so too.
I think we could work it out easier. Here's the thing. The bear is not going to get in a fucking car and follow you home.
Right.
Or get your license plate.
And the bear isn't necessarily going to have its feelings hurt.
Right.
And the bear isn't
or anything.
It's not going to necessarily have emotional. It's not going to have an emotional behavior towards it. It is all nature.
It is all nature, and it's like, I'll leave you alone. You leave me alone. Like, well, kind of the ultimate goal.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Or the showing. They say like make yourself big or whatever. That doesn't matter with a man.
Right.
And we are going on such a tangent, but this is the whole fucking it is what it is. Did I talk to you about this in one of the classes I was at the gym? We're all on treadmills, and it's this whole you pace yourself, not pace yourself, run as fast as you can. And I was running next to a man, and he wasn't he didn't look like the fittest man.
Mm-hmm. He's not probably a marathon runner.
No, not a marathon runner. And he wasn't like super, he was just normal. I wouldn't say full blown, like 50-year-old dad bod, but he was in his 20s probably. And just average. And, you can hear people running, right? The treadmill, because it's not too far from each other. And when it was like, okay, it goes 3, 2, 1, and then you're supposed to go like as fast
Sprint.
as you can. My thought was I would never be able to get away from him.
Mm.
I would never be able to get away from him just by, and I'm not a runner, but I run often when it comes to these classes and shit. And his power behind his body, night and day difference.
Yeah.
From me. And I wouldn't put myself in a not strong body. Like I definitely,
you're
right,
fit.
right. Well, thank you. I mean, I will say there's muscular. There's
no, by all measures, you are fit.
well, thank you. We don't want to have this conversation.
You are more fit than probably a lot of people our age.
Very well could be, but
that's
the fear that like just struck me in that moment of like
that realization. Yeah.
Is that would not it wouldn't matter. And that's the problem, as I think that's the thing too, is like, does it matter with a bear? No. But with a bear, it's kind of like it's less
well, here's I just had a thought that I'm gonna clinch up. Here's the thing. We are not natural prey for bears.
yes. And that's where yeah. Yeah. Yep. We're not. And that's why it's different.
That's why it's different.
I think we need to have a whole fucking episode of this. Like it's gonna go all over the place because yeah, we're not wild. But okay, so to bring this into where we were today, do you know how many, and not just women, but because we are focusing on women, that's where I'm gonna make this go. How many women have overcome that hard thing?
I mean, I think all women have overcome hard things.
No, I'm saying that particular, like versus a man, right? Like
many,
too many. But I think just to kind of bring it back into even where we are, it's like we do hard things.
Yes.
And not all of us have maybe been assaulted by a man in an extreme form, but there has been, I'm sure we've all dealt with some sort of chauvinistic behavior, attitude, uncomfortable. Yes. Uncomfortable coercion is a big one. Uncomfortable situations, even just cat calls that make you feel uncomfortable, being felt like you're not good enough, that you're not
being disregarded in business. If you're a woman.
Yep, I've seen that happen a lot. Felt it a lot.
All sorts.
And
we
overcome those hard things all the time. And so it is something that just proves that we are so freaking strong, so much stronger than any of us give ourselves and each other credit for, which is so stupid. But yet it's also the immediate, like, well, I don't know if I am. We do it all the time. Yep. How many times a man has made you feel like you are not right for the job, or you're not good enough for whatever. And I'm not talking relationships. I'm talking like either business or outside of your even people that you know. We overcome that all the time. And it's not easy to overcome. No. Because along with it comes, am I not smart? Like, should I not be in this position? Do I not know what I'm talking about? Right. All the things. We overcome. It
fosters self-doubt.
It does. And we overcome it over and over and over again. Shouldn't have to. Now, I'm not saying that men don't have their own things. This is not a male bashing. This is just saying, like, as women, we have these things as our struggles. Right. And men have their own things. And I know I've actually had multiple conversations with not just like my husband, other men, that they have their own things. And but yet we do it over and over and over again, and we still walk around going like, I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. You can. Yes, you can. And you should, because why else? What else, right? Like, and I'm not a risk taker. I'm not good with risk. But at the same time, others, I flip the coin and I'm like, but why not? What's so
well,
bad?
I mean, there's impulsive risk and there's calculated risk.
Correct. Yep. But both can be okay.
They can be, yeah, depending on the context. But I always remind myself, like, this is a calculated, informed risk.
I like
And
that.
that
Yeah.
somehow helps me,
Yeah. That makes
like,
sense.
move past the fear.
Yeah. But
Like,
yeah,
this
it's
was
like you
not
have,
like,
this is
I've
not
done
something
the
I woke up,
research,
right.
I've gathered all the
Right.
information,
It
etc.
wasn't something that I woke up and was like, you know what, today
Right.
I'm going to buy an airplane.
I would love to be able to pilot planes, actually.
I mean, it feels so frivolous.
I was gonna say it's just too expensive.
It's too expensive.
It's
Like
too
even
expensive for flying lessons.
yeah. 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 I don't know. I don't like being in an airplane period, so I don't know if I want the responsibility of it. That's one thing where I don't
Why
want
I
the
love
control.
planes so much. That is the
Yeah.
only space where I'm truly not attainable. What are you gonna come knock on the plane's door? Do you have
I
a
know you're in
crisis?
there.
Like,
Yeah.
that is the only
It's
place
because you're everyone's fixer.
where I'm unreachable.
You're everyone's fixer.
I actually hate that you can text from your plane now. I'm like, nope.
Oh.
You know how you
Yeah.
can?
Yep.
I'm gonna power my phone down.
Right. I feel like there should be more times that we do that. Like
What?
there's times that I make a point to not pay attention to my phone.
Yeah.
And there are times that I'll take my watch off.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I just can't. Like I need
Yeah.
I need 4 hours of time that I'm not paying attention to other things. And it is lovely.
Yeah.
But downside is that then when you get back to it, sometimes it feels overwhelming because there's so much to get back to.
And
But
then you have to remind yourself you can do hard things.
you can do it. You do it. You do it every day.
So,
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us for that. Just kind of, I think, pot.
I mean, I think a little bit of event session, but with a positive twist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Reminding and encouraging each other. That
Right.
Even when things feel really hard, when we feel a sense of desperation
Mm-hmm.
or despair, like, it's okay.
It's okay to feel that way.
And you can overcome
Yes.
that and you can move forward
Yep.
and you can do the scary things.
Yep.
Even if they're hard.
Right. Because we do it all the time. All right. Well, have a great rest of your week, weekend, what have you. And we will see you next time. Bye.